Okay, we're going back. We're going back,
Tired
Chad.
of
Come
waiting
on.
for you. This time you'll have
We're
to
going
keep
back.
up with me.
We got off the rails
Oh,
again.
never mind.
Flashing lights indeed. This video has a lot of flashing lights. Bet smite me? No. No. You guys are way into that. I would never. Why would I smite you guys? No way. Why would I do that? I'm not that kind. I would not, because you guys.
Hello, Internet!
way-
Welcome to Game
Our
Theory,
way
where
into-
instead of waiting for FNAF 4 to be released, this time we're getting out ahead
Anyway,
of the
hi,
game.
hi.
Or at least that was
Didn't
the
know you
plan.
liked- I like
Scott,
MatPat.
I
I
swear,
really do.
you are the biggest internet troll out
I
there.
watch
Oh,
a
it's being
lot of
released
MatPat,
October
but I haven't
31st.
completed
okay,
watching
let me
a
plan
lot
my entire
of his
schedule
FNAF
around
theories.
that. Never mind, it's now in August.
Yeah.
Okay, fine, let me rework everything.
I forgot, yeah,
Lol,
Scott
Here's
Conza.
the full version now.
On July.
You, Scott Cawthon, are the reason I have an emotional dependence on Diet Coke. But today I'll be sipping that sweet
I think he
sweet
stopped drinking Diet
and
Coke, right?
Sweet
Yeah,
victory.
but I
Because
remember
guess
he
what?
stopped
I
drinking
win.
Diet Coke.
Scott, in your rush to get the game
I'm not
out,
scared
to
of you,
get
but
out
your
ahead of
wife,
my theories
my
and
wife slash
completely
husband,
flim-flam the internet
they
and
are
shock
not
everyone by
scary.
releasing
They're
the
actually
game
very sweet.
3 months
They're
early.
very, very
You
sweet.
missed
I love
a
them.
huge detail. Maybe before releasing the game, you should have spent a bit more time researching, because this game, as you've presented
Oh
it,
my
is
god, it's a crying
impossible. Let me
child.
explain. Basically, it's all
It's
but
a
confirmed
crying
at this
child,
point
Chad.
that
Oh
in
my
FNAF 4 you play as the
God.
victim of the bite of 87, and that this game is either his nightmare or what he's seeing in a coma as he recovers from his injuries. Let me run you through the evidence real quick so that we're all on the same page.
He found a
First,
new
in the months
local
leading up
Diet
to the
Coke
release of the
replacement.
game, there were
And it-
clues
Really?
hidden in the source code for
Was
some
it
of
in
the
Food
teasers
Theory?
on Scott's
Oh wait, I'm gonna
website,
sneeze.
with the
I'm gonna
numbers
sneeze.
8787 repeated over and
Yay!
over
I
again.
muted in
Two numbers
time!
that anyone
Yay!
who hasn't been living under a rock will recognize
87,
as a key
87,
page in the
87.
franchise's lore.
Oh my god, it's the bite of 87!
This is further supported by the text on the teaser images. All of the pictures released on the site basically ask the same question: was it me? Which seems to refer to the actual attacker
was
of
never
the bite
them.
itself.
Was
But there was
it?
one more
Or
word
are
we
they?
saw repeated throughout the teasers: nightmare. Hidden over top of multiple teaser images was that exact word. That, combined with the Freddy Krueger
fact that,
design
like,
of animatronics with
he
teeth and claws
went
everywhere,
above and
something
beyond.
far
Put this
different
in,
from how we've seen these things designed in the
put
past.
this in, like,
seemed to
Photoshop
indicate
and
that
just
this
having
would be
to,
the way a
I know,
child
fuck
would imagine
around.
these creatures if
Fuck
he had
around
had a
with, like, the
traumatic
contrast
experience
and
with them,
the-
making it
the
seem like what
saturation
we would be
was
playing
like, damn.
would be a dream. Couple that with some evidence from the trailer. The first words are, "What is it you think you
Muted.
see?"
Yeah, I muted
making us
myself to
question the
sneeze.
reality
I muted
of the
myself in
images the
time,
game.
so
But
that
there was
you
also
guys
something
won't
that
hear me
everyone seemed to
sneeze.
overlook about this trailer.
why would I give you the
appearance of
satisfaction of
number
hearing me
4.
sneeze?
Scott doesn't do things randomly, as I'm sure
I'm
we're
not
all
giving any
aware by
freebies.
now. And notice
I
the
gave way too
movement
many
of the
freebies
4.
earlier.
It starts off in a horizontal
Plus, I've been
plane,
baited.
like it was laying down on something.
I've been baited, so it does not
but
count.
then wakes up to stand
Does not
vertically
count as
before the
freebies.
trailer ends. Even that remnant red rectangle is meant to
Smash,
symbolize
but I
the
want
bed.
to- No.
Everything seems
No.
to be letting us know that
No
what we're
sneezes.
seeing isn't really
don't deserve
real.
it.
It's a
No.
dream, or better yet, a nightmare.
It is
now,
indeed a
fast
nightmare.
forward to the game's release.
This game is
or,
a
I
fucking
suppose,
nightmare.
casually
Out of all of the
meander
games
to
that
the
I would
game's
probably
release, since it
play,
wasn't too
I
long
would have
afterwards.
loathed
And we see that this
one.
theory still holds. Flowers, an IV, and pills will occasionally show up next to your bed. Classical medical supplies that show us that this is a child in recovery. Foxy, who's hiding in a closet, will
This is
transform
literally the
back
most
to a
scariest
plush
game.
toy if you hold the door closed
Way,
on it long
way
enough,
too
making
many,
it seem
like,
like this was
teeth
all a
and dark
dream
and
or
all that stuff.
hallucination.
Isn't
And,
there
of
also
course,
an
the biggest
animatic-
piece of evidence of all,
an
the
animatronic
cutscene
called
that
Nightmare?
ends Night 5, which, if you don't want a spoiler, click here to skip. All of you skipped now? Good. Actually shows the bite of 87 take place in the mouth of the golden Fredbear. This is further supported by the quote-unquote boss of the game being that same golden Fredbear, where in the final nights, he's the one who ends up stalking you. All the other animatronics disappear. You're being haunted by the suit that bit you. So yeah, that's it. All the evidence points to the victim of 87 being our protagonist, the character we're playing as in FNAF 4. Good job, Scott. You finally put together a game with a coherent plotline.
Woohoo!
Except you didn't. Scott Cawthon, if all of us are right
The
in our
clueless
theory,
87.
then you,
Is that the coolest
are
87?
wrong. Just when it looked
Oh
like
my
you were making
God.
a game that actually
I've never been more
adhered to
clueless
its
in my
own
life.
lore, you also made a game that is completely
Yeah, we ate good earlier,
impossible
hypers.
from a
Yeah, you guys
scientific
are not getting
perspective.
anymore.
Loyal
How dare
theorists,
you.
it's time
No more
we give
baits.
Scott's
I
latest
get
bag of
baited
tricks
anymore.
a
I'm-
little lesson
I'm-
in
I will
real life
admit
science.
that I am short and
While
stupid
frontal
and,
lobe injuries aren't as
and
uncommon as
everything
people
that I've
think,
been
actually they happen
Given
all the time in
allegations,
car accidents, playing football, falling down, etc., having your whole frontal lobe bitten off has a much more profound impact on mental and physical functions. It would come with a whole slew of symptoms from motor skill impairment to nervous system issues, but the side
There's
effects
way
we're
too many
most
science
concerned with
on this
today would all be psychological. Removal of the frontal lobe significantly impacts the victim's ability to process certain types of stimuli, specifically fear stimuli. Let me give you some backstory. In the good old 1930s
I'm not!
and
I told
50s,
you guys
psychiatrists
earlier that
often
I
thought the best
have
way to cure
not
problems with
been
the brain
stinky
were to
ever.
cut pieces
I
out.
have taken a
Feeling
bath
depressed?
earlier.
Well, let's slice that out. Overly aggressive? That chunk probably wasn't.
Let's
important.
slice
As
that out.
such, there
What
are
the fuck?
extremely well-documented
I can't believe that,
studies
like,
of patients
before,
without
in the
frontal
olden
lobes.
days,
And what's
that
fascinating about them
everyone was
is what
literally like,
happened
hey,
to their
I'm not
fear
feeling
response.
great.
Patients
I'm
without
feeling a bit of
frontal lobe
fear.
become
Can you take that
uninhibited
out?
because they no
And they were
longer
literally just like,
have
okay,
a fear
just
response.
takes that out,
Way
and that's
back
what
in
you
my
and
Fallout
that's what you call
episode,
therapy.
we looked in depth at the most famous
Oh my god, we
accidental
came a long
lobotomy in
way.
history,
Thank God.
Phineas Gage, who literally had an iron rod shot straight through his head, completely destroying his left frontal lobe. One of the most
How
striking
is he
differences
alive?
between pre-pole Phineas and post-pole Phineas was his sense of inhibition. And by that I mean post-pole Phineas had none. He had no sense of caution, no sense of fear or self-consciousness. He was
Censored.
described to be impulsive to the point of being rude and
Markiplier
vulgar
being
in
like,
public.
was that the bite of
No
87?
fear,
Yeah.
no anxiety, no
And then
social
it's was
pressure
revealed in the game
anywhere.
that this
Going
was
back to the
actually
game,
the bite of
one of the things
83.
Scott does a
Get it
great
now.
job
Yeah,
of
I
throughout the FNAF
forgot.
franchise is putting you in the eyes of Mike or
Oh yeah,
Jerry
it was
or
the
whoever.
83
We
that
feel
was a
invested
crying
in our
child. It was
protagonist
not the
because
87.
We are that character.
The
But in this
87
case,
was
that's
Fritz.
scientifically impossible, specifically because of the bite of 87. If the main character of
Lightning
this
would make
game
that-
truly is
No, it
little Timmy
wouldn't.
lost a lobe, he wouldn't
I'd take
wander
bath in
around
the
a house
clouds.
clicking a flashlight on and off.
Not saying
Why
that, like,
would he?
rain is
He
my
doesn't
bathwater.
care because tragically
Definitely not.
he no
Why
longer
would that be my
has the
bathwater?
capacity
That would be
to
very, very
care.
unsanitary.
His brain
Why would I let it
structure
rain
no
down
longer
bathwater?
allows it. As if this weren't enough, a
Yeah.
frontal lobe injury also tampers with concentration
Let's
and
forget
attention
about that
span.
one.
The main character in the game is still supposed to be concentrated over a long period of multiple hours. But the thing is, patients without frontal lobes don't have this ability. In fact, they can only stay focused on what they see immediately happening in front of them. A child missing a frontal lobe who repeatedly turned a
I don't think it's
flashlight
about
on and
the
off in a
frontal
hallway
lobe.
without seeing anything would lose interest.
Didn't
They wouldn't
he
have the mental wiring
technically
necessary
get
to concentrate on
clapped in the head or
self-preservation.
something like
they
that?
would literally just go back to bed. The game is impossible the way it's being presented.
No, he was
because
bitten
it would
to death,
literally be over
right? That was a
before it
cutscene.
began. But the final and biggest nail in the coffin for this one is how frontal lobe injuries affect the imagination. The frontal lobe controls a ton of mental processing abilities, including dreams. You might think that an uncontrollable imagination would lead to exactly the kind of nightmares or hallucinations you see in this game.
Is
but
there
in
a
fact,
time?
It's the
Is there a
exact
time
opposite.
thing that you do
Rigorous
before you
studies have been
close
done on the
properly? I
imaginations
think there
and
was.
dream states of lobotomized patients. While patients without a frontal lobe can have dreams, one thing they can't have is nightmares. Patients missing a frontal lobe carry their lack of fear and inhibition straight into their dreams. And why not? It makes sense. If the mind isn't registering fear consciously, there's no reason to process it subconsciously in a dream. Studies show that lobotomized patients can dream about idyllic scenarios, money, fame, praise, but they can't dream about the monsters under the bed, or in this case, the Foxy in the closet, making the nightmare state of FNAF 4 impossible.
Oh my god,
for the
that
victim of the
giant
bite of 87.
golden
In fact,
Freddy
going
head.
back to the dark days of psychiatry,
Oh
some
my god,
patients
that
who
is- oh my
experience the
god,
kind of
that is
recurring
not
nightmare we
an
see
image I
in
do
FNAF
not wanna
4
see.
actually have their frontal lobes intentionally removed
Jesus Christ.
to stop these dreams from happening. One famous case describes a patient who was experiencing a recurring dream of being chased by ferocious animals. After the
I
patient
just
received
realized
the
that, like,
lobotomy
these
in
images weren't disturbing to
1953,
me
yes, he
when
still
I was, like,
had
a
the
young
dream,
goddess, and
but
now
would
they
instead
kinda are to
describe
me.
it
Seeing
as
anything
being
sharp
a nice
through,
dream
like, their-
with some nice animals. His
Through the
visions
skull
in
is
the
like,
dream were no
ugh,
longer
disgusting.
threatening. The animals were happy. He was happy, and he was no longer able to perceive any of the fear
God,
he
look at
once
that, Mario's
had
sleeping well.
prior to the surgery.
not me,
So
I'm Mario.
scientifically speaking, there is no single way the main character of FNAF 4
The fact
can
that
be
we
the
still don't
bite
have
of
full
87 victim, like
confirmation
Scott
about that
seems to have
what exactly
indicated.
happened
Sure,
with
the
the
game
bite
could be about
87
another
thing.
kid.
That is true.
Yes,
Huh.
but That would
Just
be
kind of
lame.
accepted that,
No,
like,
this
oh,
game
it's
is meant to be
the
about
bite
the
that
victim of
Fritz
the bite
died,
of 87, the
right?
poor kid who
Yeah.
wasn't just attacked at the restaurant, but continues to be tortured through nightmarish visions, dreams, coma-induced hallucinations, whatever. I have zero doubt that that's what Scott intended, but the fact of the matter is, he just didn't do enough homework. A kid with those sorts of injuries wouldn't care about those things.
No,
in
he
the
was
first
literally
place.
bitten
He would
off.
have no fear, and there would be no
He stopped
animatronics,
moving
real or imaginary,
after he
that would
was
be able
bitten.
to keep him up at night. Biologically speaking, nothing he would be experiencing would be any scarier than the fan.
The fan.
Sorry, Scott.
Oh my God, the
Better luck
fan.
in the movie.
The fan is
But
way
hey,
too strong.
That's just a theory. A game theory.
Thanks for watching.